What's up everybody? My name is Alex and today I'm reviewing the CX Racing Turbo Oil Feed and Return Line Kit. The reason I'm installing this kit is because I'm having clearance issues with the stock oil return line butting up against the oil metering pump on the rotary. Now, for those who don't know what an oil metering pump is, it's a typical thing on a rotary engine that injects oil from the oil pan up into the top of the engine into the combustion chamber. I have a special adapter for this metering pump that will take clean two-stroke oil from a separate reservoir and not the oil pan, but that pushes the oil metering pump outboard further and is now causing issues in hitting the return line. So I need an alternative, and that's where the CX Racing kit came in, where I can actually run a flexible hose in a position that clears the oil metering pump into the proper position. So this is what arrived at my doorstep. Everything came inside a priority envelope from the US Postal Service. In there was a bunch of Ziploc baggies with the kit. The oil feed line with the pressure fittings already installed. A steel braided line for the return line with the appropriate AM fittings. Flanges for the return line, one flange for the feed. On the other end of the feed, this actually goes into the block. You will need to reuse your stock banjo bolt here, as that's not included with the kit. There were two other washers included in the kit, but I didn't like the quality, and these I actually received from a giant gasket kit I received from Atkins. These just seem better quality. They have the brass or copper washers. The hardware is also not included. I'm using this hardware that I already had. So now I'd like to give you a close-up of each item and its initial quality. These are the oil return flanges for the turbo. One mounts onto the turbo itself, one onto the front housing of the motor. Pay attention to the one on the right. Look how bad the quality of this is. This shouldn't have passed their inspection. Whoever the quality engineer is or inspector is completely missed this one. It looks like it went through the rough machining process, but never was finished, like the one on the left is, which is actually clean. The one on the right still needs to have the edges deburred from machining. The threads are a little chewed up and need to be cleaned. Overall, not what I would expect from a brand new kit, but when you save a buck, what can you do? These are the gaskets for the oil return flanges. My guess is they have a bad stamping die, and that's why the edges aren't perfectly straight on these, or someone cut them by hand. Your guess is as good as mine. This now brings us to the flange for the oil feed line on the turbo. Overall, this flange looks pretty good. The gasket is just like the other two gaskets, but at least this one is finished properly and cleaned. However, you will notice on the back side, the inlet hole is very small compared to the stock inlet. I'm not sure why they did this. I'll have to do some more research and maybe even reach out to CX Racing to see what they say. If I find an answer, I'll put it in the description down below, but this is something to take note of. The AN fittings seem okay. There's a couple minor scratches, but nothing that's a big deal. I wish there was an option to at least have some black fittings, as these are a little too loud for my taste. But what can you do? And for the keen observers, I'm not actually installing this part for real just yet. This is just a mock-up to make sure everything fits. Later on, I'll be installing it for real once I finish my turbo setup. But I'm still waiting for the hybrid turbo parts to come in. So in the meantime, I'm gonna mock everything up and see how it fits. Not a lot of clearance when installed in this direction. Now it's difficult to see the direction they have it installed on their website. I believe this is the right position. But if I were to install the fitting, alright, it still fits even with the fitting on there. But that is some close tolerance. Next up is the oil feed flange. So now I'm going to try to route the oil feed line. So you see, I'm having a hard time getting this into a position where it likes to sit comfortably flat. On their pictures online, it shows the hose going in this direction here. So one of the problems I have with this kit is, okay, I can get the hose to mount all right in this direction, but notice up here, notice these sharp edges from the cast iron that's rubbing right against this hose. So what I'm probably gonna have to do is come up with some sort of protectant, a rubber, something to help mount the hose so it's not butting up right against these sharp edges. I actually prefer filling this void here as it creates less stress on the line. But if I mount it in the position they show in the picture, then it's right against this sharp edge on the block. I don't like that. So I'm gonna go for this space here. Now, another thing to point out, now that I have that end figured out, you have a lot of extra slack here. I honestly wish this line was just a couple inches shorter. My guess is they're using this line for another application, and to keep the cost down low, you're stuck with this extra slack. I wish they had included the return line with the fittings already installed, because I don't have the proper tools. I'm just coming up with a way to do it myself without the professional tools. So I'm working on the first fitting, and I've already got it inside the hose. The tricky part I have now is getting this AM fitting up to here and screwing it on together without the hose coming loose. This will be fun. So you're supposed to cut the line with some proper cutters or a hacksaw. I have neither, but I do have a good friend of mine, Mr. Dremel. This is their cut versus my cut. Case closed. So this is my final product here. This is my first time doing this, so I'm hoping I did it right. If not, thankfully, there's plenty of extra hose that was included with the kit. Worst case, I go down to a local machine shop or hardware or hydraulic shop and have them do it for me. And there's my final product. I still have some work to do on how I want to mount and keep this line in place on the top of the motor. But overall fitment, it's okay. So that about wraps up this initial review of the CX Racing kit. Hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, please ask below. Do I 100% recommend it? I really only recommend it for the DIY and backyard mechanics, or those handy with these sort of things. It's not a direct bolt-on experience, so don't expect that. Anyways, see you guys next time, and I'll do a follow-up when I actually have this installed in the car to make sure there's no leaks present and I install this hose correctly next time.